So just on my way to Stay Studios, and we're going to be filming a episode for Respectfully podcast with Nikki from Tribute. And I want it to be a little bit of a nudge for hairdressers who aren't doing YouTube but want to, and hopefully I can inspire them to start, or at least give it a go, and then like the value of it and everything like that really. But really looking forward to it. I approached them. You can go onto their, I think it was their Instagram page actually, and you just apply to go on it. So that's what I did, got on it, and then I'm here. So just had a little wander. I got here, the trains were delayed actually, so it took me a bit longer to get here, but I'm just having a bit of a wander to it. We'll find it, and then we'll do the episode, and I'll try and film as much as I can. I think it's about 30 minutes long. So let's get to Stay and film the podcast.
Welcome to the Respectfully podcast. I'm Nikki Pope, your host for this hairdressing conversation. My guest for today's episode is Paul Watts. He is a master of colour and a salon owner. Indeed, he's had a string of salons in the past, now based in Northampton, and he has diversified into multimedia communications, significantly a YouTube channel. He's using his skills as a hairdresser and educator with his technical and production expertise to create an extra revenue stream from his YouTube channel. An award winner, he has indeed won the Colour World Colour Communicator Award in previous years. Entries will be open for that soon, by the way. So a pertinent time to have a good old conversation about how we can spread our wings and create more revenue streams and diversify. Hello Paul, welcome.
Hey Nikki, thank you for having me.
Nice to see you here today. I think we're going to have so much to talk about. You are a salon owner, you're an educator, you're a YouTube host, you do TikTok and all the social medias. I know you've been a platform artist, and you are a dad.
I am, yeah. Birthday yesterday, she's 1 year old, so.
Oh, happy birthday, Rosa.
Yeah.
Oh, bless. So let's kick off with, let's just place you in the world today. So okay. I gave a little bit of an introduction. How would you introduce yourself at a party? My name's Paul Watts, this is what I do. Okay,
so yeah, my name's Paul Watts, and I think where I'm at now is trying to empower hairdressers into making an extra stream of revenue using what we do daily behind the chair, using social media.
So what kicks that off? So how long would you say you've been doing that? Because you had a few salons, now you've got one salon, you've kind of brought it all into a single premises. Years ago, 5 years ago? Is this a more recent thing?
As in socials?
Well, yeah, as in diversifying and...
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say the two words, but one begins with C and then one begins with L and ends in down. So we started there. I had nothing else to do. We were closed for 8 months. We didn't know when we were going to reopen. And I always wanted to embrace the inner geek in me. I was at university, did creative design with marketing. I was always a bit of... a website developer and that sort of thing at school, and then always played with cameras. And then when lockdown hit, I just thought, if this ever happened again, how could I make sure I can bring in revenue and still have a bit of an impact on people? Picked up a camera, started filming sort of like vlogs, which were pretty rubbish in my kitchen, so that's where we could go, until I really found my niche and really trying to break down haircuts into layman terms, and that's where it really sort of blew up for me.
Interesting. So it wasn't because you were particularly trying to grow your salon business, it was more from the outset you saw this as something slightly different and just another way of exploring hairdressing and education. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the salon was going great. As you said, we had 4 salons. I sold 2 luckily just before lockdown.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after lockdown, I sold the third one and wanted to consolidate into my Kettering one, being the biggest. And I just seen social media, in particular YouTube. I'm not a massive fan of making short form. I want to create this long form content that's like a TV show, that people can sit and watch and gain some real value from.
Right.
And from seeing people on YouTube, I mean, when you speak to my girlfriend's a teacher, and when you say to the little ones, what do you want to be when you're older? It's YouTuber.
Yeah.
So it's a case of why do they want to be a YouTuber? And when you really look into it and you've got the monetary side of it, I've seen that as a huge benefit to support my business. And we recovered from lockdown, I think, so much quicker because of it.
Yeah. So have you used it for like e-commerce? Are you selling product or is it services? It's like the education mainly you're selling.
Yeah, it's just raw education. And I was doing the typical really in-depth haircuts and colour techniques and products. And if there was a new product, I would sort of say, oh, look at this shiny new thing. And then it wasn't until we were back in the salon and it was a Saturday, we were finishing up and I needed a video. So I jumped on my phone and Googled trending haircut right now, and the wolf cut come up.
Right,
and
lovely.
it was, yeah.
But it's just Northamptonshire, you know that.
Is it? Well, it's gone global. And I looked at it and I thought, well, that's just a shack haircut, and how do we create a shack haircut? Elevation over direction. So I thought, well, could I achieve that in a much simpler format and reversing it into sort of layman terms? And that was where the 2 ponytails came into it. We cut it, we shook it out, and it created this shag look haircut. And I mean, that's just over 5 million views now in 3 years.
And who are you making this content for? So in my world of media, so I come from traditional sort of print media, and now we've grown into digital and doing arguably live events, I suppose, as part of the whole media offering. To me, it's always important to know who you're doing it for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you adopt that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the biggest question I get asked. It's like, oh, how did your channel blow up? And it was because of the wolf cut ponytail. And I've developed that as my niche over the years, because from being a college student myself, I really struggled to understand elevation over direction, anything below 90 degrees being graduation, above it being layering. And what I started to see hairdressers commenting, saying, oh, right. So if that was pulled back further, would that maintain more length?
Right.
And it's like, yeah, so let me do a graduated bob for you in one ponytail. Let's cut it, let it drop, and let's have a look. And that's how it really happened. I still do very, very technical haircuts on the channel.
So it's very much for hairdressers.
For hairdressers, yeah.
Okay. So let's back up the bus a little bit. What's different about YouTube from other social media? So I'm sure it's obvious to you, but let's imagine that not all of us get that.
Totally get it.
So because we're all very much Instagram and TikTok, I think.
We are, yeah.
So how would you explain the difference between each of the platforms? Do you still do okay, I'll stop there. Let's start with that question. What's the difference between the platforms?
Well, I see YouTube as like a TV show, as your real place where you can delve into your life more, because it's long form. I know the shorts have been adopted, but I just see that as a place where you can really get you across.
Yeah.
And then I see the other ones as a real sort of maybe a snippet or a trailer. I would use them more as trailers to my YouTube channel, is what I would see those as.
Right. So X is the chats and the comments and the opinions, and that's going wherever it's going.
Yeah.
Instagram, very much a hairdresser's favourite, I think.
It is. And
Instagram and Reels, pretty pictures, visuals.
Yeah, really quick, really well, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the engagement, I mean, there's this girl at the minute, she's just blown up in America, and all she's doing is she's setting her phone up, and she's standing behind the basin, and it's like quick snips of her outfits daily while she's shampooing her clients.
Yeah.
And I see Instagram and TikTok more as that, where it's like a little snippet of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then...
And promotion for your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clients are good. Instagram's good with clients, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I've still got it, because I actually deleted TikTok 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah, just because it was just taking me into holes. Like, I would get the notification, I'd be like, oh, I'll have a quick look, at, say, for a haircut trend or colour trend. And then I'd be on, like, outer space.
Yeah, that's me. You start off watching a few dogs, and then suddenly the kids and the gymnasts kick in, and then it's all, So would you say then, TikTok's more entertainment?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you can just lose hours if you like.
You can lose yourself in it. And with Reels as well. I mean, I think what Instagram do quite well is it's still very much concentrated on where you're looking at. But TikTok, and I heard this morning actually, it's called the Bandit algorithm.
Right.
And like the bandits in Las Vegas. And that is where it will give you what you want, and then it will just take you away for a second. Yeah. And then that's where it's trying to capture your attention for somewhere else to sort of take you down that hole. Right. And it's like the slot machines in Las Vegas. You're sort of going and going and going, then you win. Yeah. And then you found another addiction sort of thing. So.
Yeah. Right. So it's time consuming. Facebook? Do you still bother with Facebook?
I do. Yeah. And actually, I think I use Facebook more than Instagram and TikTok.
Right.
I think.
For clients or for I think, reaching other hairdressers? I
think for clients. I think, and Instagram DMs, that's why I didn't delete Instagram. I was so close to, just because it's a distraction. Yeah. I'm sort of like all in YouTube, and I was seeing these little things creeping in to daily life as like little distractions, but I haven't deleted it. But yeah, I use that for mainly brands, I think, connecting with brands on Instagram. Facebook, I see connecting with clients. I see that's a great way to sort of get an audience, or maybe even sort of like help other businesses. Yeah.
And what about things like podcasts and those sort of, platforms, sort of Spotify's and iTunes and so on?
I think they're mega. Yeah. I think they're the next, it sounds stupid, the next big thing, because they're here now. Yeah. But I think for evergreen content and for education, they're so easy. You can watch them, you can just listen to them on the train or running or whatever. I think podcasts are so easily accessible that being able to capture an audience in a time where they may be a bit more preoccupied with something, say cooking dinner, you can have a podcast on in the background and you're sort of capturing somebody, whereas if you had any of the social media, including YouTube, if you had a video on, they would probably miss a lot of it. Yeah. So I think podcasts are...
It's almost like going back to the radio. So I grew up with my parents having the radio on all the time. So I'm quite a radio person still if I'm driving anywhere. But these kids now, when I say kids, I mean people, Gen X onwards, Gen Z, grew up with gaming. And they grew up with YouTube. And they grew up with watching things, on TV. So I think the podcasts are coming back into that. It's that element of choice, but it's still the sound, and you can multitask and move around and absorb it almost.
And it is, and they just seem like, it's funny, they seem so cool, and it's such an old sort of format as we're talking about, but you find a lot of the youngsters today, they find a cassette and they think this is amazing. Yeah. And they're like, where does this go in? It's like, well, it goes in an old stereo. And they're like, what's this?
What's the stereo? Yeah, so... What's that? But then look at vinyl came back for a while, didn't it? So let's bring it back to YouTube then. You made a comment earlier which some people may not understand, shorts. What's a YouTube short then if it's not on YouTube?
Yeah, so this is why I sometimes struggle why I don't see more hairdressers on YouTube, because a YouTube short is basically a reel, a TikTok, a Facebook reel, and you could just cross-pollinate it. Yeah. That's what I've found is doing very well for my channel at the minute. I'm sort of going back into my back catalogue of videos that maybe didn't do so well. I would download them, re-edit them, and then create a couple of shorts with them, a couple of like trailers, and then they just explode. So one of the biggest things with YouTube is, and it's to do with the algorithm as well, that most of my viewers are new. So I would say probably 8 to 15% of my viewers of videos are regulars, and you've got like 80% which is new. So if you put 4 old videos up, they're probably never going to get to your existing subscribers. They're going to push it to people who are actually searching for your content. And that's why I think it's so powerful, because I think